Hey, General Hospital fans. We have got your early weekly spoilers for the week of June 15th through the 19th, and oh my goodness, there is so much going on. We are talking about whether Lucas Jones actually survived those 3 gunshots to the chest, because let me tell you, that cliffhanger had all of us screaming at our screens. Plus, Carly Spencer is absolutely unraveling as her desperation to find Jocelyn reaches a brand new level this week. And we have got Liesl, we have got Willow, we have got Charlotte and Danny out here making absolutely terrible decisions again because of course they are. It is a lot, and I am here for every single second of it. I'm Belinda from Soap Dirt. And before we get into everything coming the week of June 15th, please do not forget to click that subscribe button if you are not already following us. We put out content every single week, and you do not want to be the last one to know what is happening in Port Charles. Okay?
Okay.
And as we always do on Early Edition Day, we're going to start with what is still coming the rest of this current week, and then we're going to dive headfirst into all of next week's drama. So let's start there. So on Wednesday, June 10th, we are picking right back up with Curtis and Portia absolutely going at it at this baby shower, which, can we just take a moment to acknowledge that this baby shower has been the most chaotic event in Port Charles history, and that is really saying something in a town that has hosted literal mob wars and villain resurrections. This continues from Tuesday, where Portia basically told Curtis he had no business being a father because of how violent and uncontrollable he has been acting lately. And she went further and told him she did Trina a favor by keeping Curtis out of her upbringing.
Wow. 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 Wow.
That is a bold statement, Portia. I mean, she is not entirely wrong about Curtis's current behavior, but the way she is delivering it is something else entirely. So naturally, Trina is going to leave that baby shower absolutely wrecked. She was already furious at Portia for the paternity secret, and now her father, Curtis, is standing there proving Portia's point for her by acting out in front of everyone. And that has got to feel like the absolute worst kind of gut punch. Your mom says your dad is a bad person, and then your dad goes and does something to make it very hard to defend him. Trina is in a lose-lose situation right now, and my heart genuinely breaks for her. Now, hopefully Ava is going to be that steady presence at the shower because she is there, and Ava and Trina have such a beautiful bond that honestly the show does not lean into nearly enough. I would love to see Ava just pull her aside, hold her hand, and remind her that she does not have to carry this. And then Trina is going to take off to go vent to her friends, which honestly, yes. Get out of that room, girl.
Get some air.
Now, Aunt Stella is also going to lose her cool, and I want to say, usually calm Aunt Stella going off is a rare event, and it carries serious weight. She is going to let both Curtis and Portia have it, telling them in no uncertain terms that if this is how they operate, then their children are the ones who lose. And she is absolutely right. This feud between Curtis and Portia has gone from messy co-parenting territory straight into nuclear wasteland, and everybody around them is getting burned. And look, I know I keep saying it, but I need to say it again, this is about 97% on Curtis at this point. His attitude has been completely out of pocket, and if he is not careful, if that felony assault charge sticks and he gets convicted, he could very well miss the birth of his own child and wind up with restricted visitation rights. Think about that for a second. All of this anger, all of this posturing, and it could cost him everything he actually says he wants. Also on Wednesday, Carly is ready to spring into action on something, and Valentine is urging her to pump the brakes. He is telling Carly that everything changes if they play this wrong. And I believe this is connected to the WSB contact that Jack told them about. Carly's instinct is to run straight at the problem because that is who she is, and Valentine, who has his own very good reasons for not wanting to be anywhere near Staynow again, is pulling her back. This is actually a fascinating dynamic because you have two people who are both capable of reckless action, and here Valentine is being the cautious one. That is character growth, honestly. Dante is also getting some bad news on Wednesday, and I have got a few theories on what that could be. Either he is hearing about Lucas being shot, because word travels fast in Port Charles even when it probably should not, or maybe it is connected to Lisa going missing, or perhaps Brooklyn is already trying to put him on Willow's trail as the second driver in Jordan's accident. That last one would be wild because Brooklyn connecting those dots that fast would mean she has been doing a lot more thinking behind the scenes than we realized. And speaking of Willow, she is full-on panicking. She is telling Jack that now that he can speak, the window to give him that injection and keep him quiet is closing fast, and she knows it. There is so much desperation in Willow this week, and it is compelling to watch because this is a character who spent so much of her arc being soft and sacrificial, and now she is cornered and doing terrible things to protect herself. It is messy character work in the best possible way. Now Jack may offer Willow a deal that is just too good to pass up. Maybe he promises to keep quiet about what she did in exchange for her cooperation, possibly using her as a channel to get a message to his WSB contact. That would actually be smart on his part. And we have to remember that Na ducked out of that baby shower on Tuesday with a very specific destination in mind. She was heading back to Turning Woods to check on Jack. So there is a real possibility that Na walks in right in the middle of Willow gearing up to give that injection and intervenes before anything irreversible happens. Whether that is to protect her daughter or to protect Jack or both, I guess we are about to find out. Also on Wednesday, Trina makes what sounds like a big, sweeping move. After venting to Kai, Emma, and Gio, she may just decide she is cutting both of her parents out of her life, at least for now. She is telling them flat out that she does not want to be part of this anymore. And you know what? I cannot even be mad at her. These adults around her keep dragging her into their mess, and then acting surprised when she breaks. Fresh off this baby shower catastrophe, Trina drawing a hard boundary makes complete sense. She will show up for the baby when the time comes. She loves that little sibling, but she does not have to be in the middle of Curtis and Portia's war to do that. And then there is the big one. Laura is frantically trying to revive Lucas after Sidwell shot him 3 times in the chest. She is slapping at his face, asking him if he can hear her. And here is where it gets interesting, because if you were watching closely, you may have noticed that Lucas was not lying in a pool of blood. After 3 gunshots to the chest, that is not exactly a minor detail. And the fact that Laura is there at all is strange. She is not applying pressure to his wounds, which is the absolute first thing you do for a gunshot victim. She is slapping his face like she is trying to wake him up. That behavior makes a lot more sense if Lucas is wearing a bulletproof vest and the impact of 3 rounds knocked the air out of him and put him down without actually penetrating. And think about that jacket he had on. It was buttoned all the way to the top, practically an invitation. Like he was daring Sidwell to shoot him. I think this was a setup. I think Lucas walked into that room knowing Sidwell was dangerous, knowing he had caught him red-handed at the safe, and he was prepared. I am hoping Laura and Lucas coordinated with Sonny on this and got Sidwell on tape, because if they did, the question becomes, do they turn that evidence over to the Peace PD, or do they use it the Port Charles way and blackmail Sidwell into backing off? Both options have very different consequences, and I genuinely cannot tell which direction they are going. Moving to Thursday, June 11th, Charlotte and Danny are cooking up a brand new scheme. Because of course they are. These two have the absolute worst combined judgment of any pair of teenagers in daytime history, and I say that with affection. My best guess is they have decided to go looking for Rocco on their own, probably thinking that if they move quietly enough, nobody will notice or follow them. Which, of course, Cullum absolutely will. Someone always follows. That is how Port Charles works. Also on Thursday, Sonny is going to get surprised by some news from Christina. And I believe this is about medical school. Christina's path has been all over the place this season, and it sounds like she may be delivering some kind of final decision this week. There are some signs, nothing confirmed, but signs, pointing to this potentially being Christina's last air date for a while. We will see. I hate to speculate too hard on that without confirmation, but the energy around it feels significant. Na is also reaching out to Nathan, or rather, to the person she thinks is Nathan. And I think this is probably about Liesl, because Liesl has been grabbed, and Na is going to be looking for any thread she can pull. But I do not expect Cassius to reveal himself to Na just yet. He is going to keep playing the Nathan card, because as long as Liesl is being held at Windermere and Cassius is trying to operate safely, keeping that circle of trust very small is the only smart move. I expect him to maintain the Nathan persona for everyone outside that inner circle until Liesl is free. Cody impresses Molly on Thursday, and honestly, I cannot wait to see what that is about. Cody being given more moments to shine has been a welcome shift this season, and I am very much looking forward to Kelly Kruger joining as his sister Serena in July. That is going to add a whole new layer to his story, and I think it is going to be great. Valentine is also cautioning Carly again. He already warned her on Wednesday, and clearly it did not stick, because here he is doing it again. Carly Spencer has never met a warning she could not override with pure stubbornness, so Valentine essentially saying the same thing twice in 1 week tells me Carly is really close to doing something reckless. And Ava is dealing with her conscience, which is always interesting to watch because Ava Jerome having a crisis of conscience tends to produce some of the best scenes in the entire show. Then on Friday, June 12th, Willow is about to face Tracy's wrath, and I think this is connected to the Chase job offer situation. Tracy has been watching Chase like a hawk, does not trust him for a second, and if Willow is somehow tied to decisions being made around his career, Tracy is going to have opinions. Loud ones. Also on Friday, Sunny is helping Brooklyn with something. These two working together is an interesting pairing because Brooklyn has always been more of a schemer than people give her credit for, and Sunny respects that kind of energy. Alexis is making a compelling case about something, probably in that conversation about Christina and medical school, and by the end of the week her argument is landing. Chase makes a high-profile arrest, and I've been going back and forth on who the target is. My top two candidates are Sidwell for the attempted murder of Lucas, or Willow for the allegations around Jordan's accident. And my instinct says Sidwell because the setup with the vest and the tape feels like it has been building to exactly this kind of payoff. But I could absolutely be wrong, and I would not be shocked if it goes the other way. Ethan is weighing his options this week as well, possibly having some second thoughts about Phoebe. He also has another important conversation with Alexis, and there is something really rich about Ethan and Alexis having these meaningful exchanges because they both carry so much history and neither of them is exactly who Port Charles expected them to become. Alright, now let's get into the full week of June 15th through the 19th, and there is a lot happening. Carly's desperation to find Jocelyn is escalating, and I want to be clear, we are past anxious mom territory and into full Carly Spencer threat mode. She is not going to wait around, she is not going to be patient, and she is absolutely not going to listen to reasonable warnings from Valentine for very much longer. The sooner Jack gets out of Turning Woods and is operational, the better, because he may be the one who can actually get a lead on where Joss is. But Cullum remains a very real and very dangerous obstacle, and navigating around him, without tipping him off, is going to require more discipline than Carly naturally has. That tension is going to be electric to watch. Liesl is going to be forced to work on Faison's final project and finish the prototype that she has been holding off on. And this is such a dark corner for her character to be in. She has spent years trying to move past everything Faison represented, and now she is being dragged back into it under threat. The stakes are personal because Cassius and Joss are both at risk, and Liesl is not going to let anything happen to either of them, if she can help it. And I have to say, I am genuinely excited about the Liesl and Cassius dynamic that is developing. She lost Nathan in a way that left a permanent wound, and having this complicated, unexpected second son figure in her life is so emotionally loaded. The scenes where she allows herself to be vulnerable with him are going to be something special. Charlotte and Danny are probably going to land in trouble again over whatever scheme they cooked up last week. No surprises there. And our leaker has told us that Britt and Rocco are supposed to be on the run for essentially all of June, which means they are likely coming back into the picture right as July sweeps kick off on June 25th. So if you have been missing Rocco, hang on just a little longer. His return is going to be timed for maximum dramatic impact, which is exactly how it should be. Brooklyn and Sunny are working together to deal with the Sidwell situation at Deception. If Chase did arrest Sidwell at the end of last week, that clears a significant obstacle, but there is still the fallout to manage. Getting Sidwell out of any position of influence at Deception is going to require careful, coordinated effort, and I actually love seeing Brooklyn in this kind of strategic role. She has been underestimated for so long. Trina's frustrations are going to be very evident this week and continuing to mount. The question I keep coming back to is whether she is going to go directly to Curtis and Portia and lay down the law, basically tell them that as long as they are at war with each other, she is removing herself from the equation. I think that confrontation is coming. It needs to happen. And I think Trina is finally at the point where she is ready to say it to their faces instead of just saying it to her friends. She will absolutely be there for the baby. That is not in question. but she can love her sibling and still refuse to be collateral damage in her parents' battle. Tracy is keeping a very close eye on Chase this week, and it is clear she is not going to let up. She does not trust him. She does not like what she cannot predict, and Chase is proving to be someone she cannot fully read. That dynamic is going to keep producing friction. And Ethan getting closer to Ava. Okay, yes, I am here for this conversation. Ava needs someone in her corner, and she has never done particularly well with straightforward, uncomplicated men. She thrives with a schemer. She thrives with someone who understands the gray areas. Ethan is exactly that kind of person, and if the show decides to lean into that connection, I think it could be genuinely compelling. Do not give me sweet and simple for Ava Jerome. Give me complicated and interesting. That is where she belongs. So that is your full rundown for the week of June 10th through the 19th. Port Charles is absolutely packed right now, and every storyline feels like it is actually going somewhere with purpose, which, let's be honest, is not always the case in soaps. Enjoy every bit of it. Thank you so much for being a loyal listener and a loyal reader. You are the reason we do this every single week, and we genuinely appreciate every one of you. Please follow us wherever you get your podcasts, because you do not want to miss a single episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. We will see you next time.